Just answering questions of WAP Tech, part 20 billion. Stop watching Crowdsource the truth, someone says. I agree. We should crowdsource the fact. I'm not going to make a YouTube channel name that. It's probably already been done. Next. Did someone ask you to do this video, or is this for fun, for the image grab from September 11th, the security gate at the Pentagon, both camera angles? No, it wasn't for fun. It's part one in a series I'm doing. I didn't explain it in the video very well, where I'm going to compare YouTube uploads that are the least messed up and not altered to the original that was claimed to be a quote-unquote really lousy flash file by a certain judicial watcher that ended up being an MPEG on their page, and then later on they used YouTube. I dug up archives. The archives are actually kind of hard to find. Other people did the work for me. I cheated. I'm not going to repeat and retread the same work if I don't have to. But I'm going to do a comparison sometime this week of just the, quote, significant, just before and just after all movement stopped on impact, significant. That means any flying debris and whatever. The smoke is continuous. Just before and just after, all those images, which worked out in that video at 23 and 22 frames, which is expected. It's not going to sync properly because it can't. And more importantly, all unique frames, no matter how minimal the change was. Because someone took what they said was a shockwave flash file at one time. I think they've changed their stories at Judicial Watch way too many times. And instead of getting a zip file full of individual photos. I don't trust them as a source. That's what I'm doing here. I'm taking them apart nibble by nibble, bite by bite. I might put it on different channels because they will sue me. Because eventually they'll say it was the creative work what they did, which means they altered it. I've never liked Judicial Watch because I think they're full of shit. Anyway. The second version will be of their original MPEG version they said was the original copy, and I'm not going to do any of the subsequent versions. I'm using the oldest version they uploaded, and I'm going to check to see if they redacted and changed their assertions. The videos are gone from their website. Such an important thing to get a hold of, and they said, we're totally neutral and we're putting to bed this conspiracy theory. And what did they do? They uploaded an image, and I did a video at one time on the camera that was used at those locations at the Pentagon. That's half the resolution it's supposed to be, Judicial Watch. What did you do with it? You didn't run it through Adobe Premiere or Shockwave Flash Converter that was owned by a different company at one time until it was Adobe. You didn't do a stupid and try to make it streamable from your website and just give up and make an MPEG file, right? Why'd you hide the links eventually? Freedom of Information Act request doesn't mean much if you altered the data. Chain of custody broken. But anyway, the other version I'm going to do is going to have a comparison, frame by frame, between the right and left camera. So, am I doing this for fun? It's not fun. The video has inappropriate frame rate changes. It changes from 1 frame per second to 12 to 30 for 2 frames at a time. And then the claim is, well, it's obvious the Pentagon altered it, but your source won't give you the original file and lied about the file format. Judicial Watch edited. But thank you for asking. Las Vegas timestamps are also off. Is that a coincidence? Time and date stamps for all sources of data are based on the machine not screwing up. And Las Vegas timestamps are dependent on the person's cell phone updating, and if it updates once every 10 minutes, it can be off by up to a minute. It could also erroneously just make a mistake and put in the wrong time and date stamp for the frames. Also, it should be pointed out that that's the way it is. And yeah, the time and date stamps for the CCTV videos are going to be wrong. And I'm going to complete your answer here if you're curious. I've already gone through a preliminary looked at the original MPEGs that Judicial Watch didn't include. And this goes for any subject. There wasn't any time and date stamp in the video itself because it was treated as evidence in a court case against a specific person who was being prosecuted for being involved in September 11th attacks. There were other people besides the hijackers. And they used the copy that didn't do that. But on the sidebar right along here, if you want to watch the video, encoded up here is the hour, minute, and second GMT that they were using on the system. It was the system-wide synchro. That's it. That's all I know about it. It would also be down here where you'd have the second audio programming barcodes that would pop up if you can interpret it. And I'd like to point out, it looks a lot like they simply pointed a camera at the TV screen. All Judicial Watch has to do is cough up the original email file or the file they got, or show us the CD or DVD it came on. It was probably a CD. And put up the original files, shut up and get out of our face. They've never done that. Don't complain about the government doing some conspiracy of hiding stuff, guys, when your whistleblower won't give you the damned file. Yeah, I'm angry. Next. Nice circular hole, according to them, that the airliner made. What about the two titanium jet engines? Not all of the jet engine is titanium. Most of it's aluminum, because it saves weight and it dissipates heat better. The titanium part you're referring to is mostly the blades. There are parts that are titanium, they have to be. But the majority of it's made out of other materials to make it as light as possible, because like a boat, you want to make it as light, tough, durable, and resilient as possible. And titanium has many of those same characteristics. It's great, but it's insanely expensive and unnecessary for the majority of the building of the vehicle. Most of the airplane is made out of basically aluminum, and at that speed it's aluminum foil. So people say, well, how did it make a perfect outline of an airplane? Because it hit a building, the Twin Towers, that's mostly made out of aluminum cladding and steel, and it chiseled through as much as it could. An aluminum pellet, bullet, whatever, going fast enough, it's a 500-mile-an-hour impact. And on the Pentagon, it hit a building that was made mostly out of masonry, but it did make a hole for the engine. It did make a hole for the body, mostly. It also made slash and impact marks for the wings. And it partially broke up because it basically almost, but not quite, hit the ground. Part of it did, part of it didn't. It scraped the ground on impact. And yes, it really did hit. And it's not an alleged 757, because it's not. As for the holes, I don't know if you can really see them very easily, because, by the way, the building was hit hard enough that it caved in because it had a subsequent fire too. And the penetration of the main body went in through, and most of the wings kind of folded back partially because it hit something fairly solid, and it was still damaged, bent, and attached at the front because the wings were swept back slightly. But yeah, the engines did actually make an impact. But thanks for the question about it. I'm not covering that. I did that in another video. Off topic? So anyway, and it wasn't a nice circular hole. It's the way, look at the way masonry caves in if you impact it. Just all you have to do is ram a barrel full of water into a brick wall. This wasn't really a brick wall. It had masonry on the outside and cement and stuff. But it was mostly designed to gum up the works if it was attacked by a ground attack with tanks. It's part of the design for the Pentagon. Sounds silly these days, but it wasn't back then. Ground war with tanks on the East Coast from Russia. Of course, we're here with the only city I know that did a full-scale atom bomb attack test. That was a real drill. Nobody ever brings up all the horrible murders that happened opportunistically when it went live and they actually set off a nuclear warhead above Portland. Mean much? So anyway, I thought I have seen it all until I just watched on a channel. The dude says another channel is actually the police officer from Las Vegas. The comments are just as bad. Wow. I'm including a link below to the video if you want to watch it. I don't know. Apparently, I've been told that today that I'm both a Nazi and a Zionist Jew, because that makes sense. Repeatedly by a little nasty guy who wants to get away with posting something about Sandy Hook. Just spinning the wheel of insults to get an effect of some sort. So all of his comments are deleted, but I did respond in a video telling him he's an idiot. But anyway, I'll leave all this in here. But as for the circular hole of the non-alleged airliner, That is not necessarily what anybody would expect. What do you think happens in a situation that has literally never happened before? Well, this is unprecedented, but we all know what it should look like. Oh, well, it should have cut through it like butter, but it didn't. Oh, it shouldn't have cut through it like butter, but it did. Non-consistent reality. Explosively formed projectiles made out of copper and aluminum are used to kill tanks. But somehow an airplane going 500 miles an hour is just not going to do enough damage in one way, but always does too much damage in another. Anyway, I'll include this here. I'll try to make a munged up name for the video because it's more fun. Putting a straightforward name in the video doesn't cover all the subject matter. There's too many subjects involved. Oh look, it's rich guys who don't really drive cars or trucks properly or motorcycles. I'll try to make up a fun title for this. Maybe I'll call it something fun. Thanks for your comments. Have a good day. Good luck with that. And don't accept any wooden reality.